Good evening, Yarnies. How was everyone tonight? It's a little warm here, but it's not too bad. Alrighty. So, we're going to take a little change of pace from what we normally do here on the channel. Normally, we have some type of crochet. We're going to do a little crochet tonight, but not heavily crocheted. We're going to make our own yarn. And no, we're not spinning. We're not spinning, we're not twisting, we're not doing any of that. We are making t-shirt yarn. So if you've got an old t-shirt, anything that's a knit fabric, knit meaning it has a stretch, not actually something you've knitted, because that would probably fall apart if you used a hand-knitted item. We want a mass-produced knitted fabric like t-shirts. Doesn't matter if it has side seams or not. If it has printing on it, it could work. Where the areas where the printing is are going to be a little more rougher, which is fine. If it's got a pocket, you might have some issues there. I would remove the pocket, but your best bet is to use a plain t-shirt. Anything that is worn has a little bit of holes. Not too many holes. If it got stains on it, that's fine. It's a good way to reuse You reuse your t-shirts that otherwise would end up in a landfill. So, let's switch my screens. So, I've got a bunch of t-shirt yarn that I have made previously. Each one of these is one t-shirt. Some might be smaller than others because it might be a smaller size t-shirt. You could use a polo shirt. Your yarn is going to be thicker. Tonight, what I'm going to show you how to do is how to use majority of the t-shirt. Saturday, we're going to use the rest of the t-shirt, and when we get into this, I will show you and explain what I mean. So these are all just different examples. It's just balls of t-shirt material that I have turned into yarn that I can crochet. You can knit. You can even weave with it if you've got a loom, like a rigid heddle loom or any other type of loom. You can make rag rugs. You can make woven rag rugs. You can crochet rugs. You can knit rugs. You can make baskets. I think I'm going to make some more baskets. I'm really into making baskets, and instead of using cotton yarn, I'm going to use t-shirt yarn. You can make bags, like tote bags. If you've got enough, or if you want to do different colors, you could do like a poof, like a seat cushion type poof type thing. You could do covers for bar stools. You could get real creative with it. But I'm going to show you how to make the yarn first. So what I have here, and I'm going to zoom, well, that is actually as far out as I can zoom. Bear with me, everybody. What I'm going to do is, I should have done this before, but I'm going to reposition my top-down camera, and hopefully this will work if I can move it up further. Give me 1 second. Was not prepared. We're not having an earthquake. Oh, that's okay. I didn't know that was in there. Okay, yeah. So, let's see. See more of my dirty desk. Anyway, so that we get a better field of view. Let's see what we got here. So I've got a large, actually an extra large t-shirt. It's a men's t-shirt. Doesn't matter. You can use children's, adult, whatever. It's just a plain gray t-shirt. It's got some stains. I must have painted on it at some time. Anyway, or was painting when I was wearing it. So what we're going to do is you're going to lay your t-shirt out flat. And for tonight's portion, we're only going to worry about from the armpits down. Saturday, we'll worry about the armpits up. So the easiest way to do this, and I don't have enough room on this desk. If you have a table, kitchen table, that would work great. I'm not at a kitchen table. But what you're going to do is you're going to lay it out as even as possible. You want to try to match up your hem, your bottom hem. Get it as even as possible. Doesn't have to be exact, but close. And smooth it out. I'm going to have some issues with that because it's been worn and washed so many times, and it's not perfect. But that's the beauty of this craft. It doesn't have to be perfect. But try to get it somewhat even. All right. So we're going to start at one armpit where the sleeve meets the torso, meets the body of it. Let me reposition this one more time. Difficult working with limited space. You don't want to fold the right way. Bear with me, everybody. Okay. So you're going to get some really good scissors that can cut fabric. And you're going to cut right below where that armpit seam is. If you look, there's usually 4 pieces of, I can zoom in a little. I don't know how well this is showing up, but you've got the 2 pieces. This happens to have a seam up the side. You've got the 2 pieces, the front and the back, and then the 2 pieces of the sleeve. Right where they meet, right below it. It's right below it, you're going to cut. And you're going to try to keep it even as possible. If it's slightly off, that's fine. And if you got these little ragged edges, that's okay too. Try to even this out as I go. If I had more room, this would work a lot better. But you're going to cut all the way across from armpit to armpit. I'm a little off. Not the first time I've been a little off. So armpit to armpit. That could have been done a little bit better. But the top portion, we're going to hold off. We're going to work on that on Saturday. You're going to get more yarn out of the top portion. We're not doing that tonight. We're only going to worry about the body part. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the very bottom hem. What you could do is you could cut that all off, but there's a little extra fabric in there. And instead of picking out all that seam, just take your scissors, and I'm actually going to take these really sharp, small thread snips, and just cut some of the strands there. And this is where a side seam is meeting. I'm going to cut through that. That's going to be the little bit difficult part. I'm just trying to get this started. And then you're going to take your scissors and go right into that hem and just cut those stitches that is holding that hem in place. So you're going to get a little extra yardage by doing this. Again, this is totally optional, but it's to make use of as much of the t-shirt as possible. Just opening up this seam. If you have a really large overshirt, like a nightshirt, that would work too, because that's even more yarn because they're longer. Need a seam ripper to rip through the hem stitching. Yeah. Or a razor blade. But I'd end up cutting myself with either one. I'm barely do okay with the scissors. And these are pretty sharp scissors. These aren't anything fancy. They're Singer brand. Not that that means anything. I think they're Singer brand. Anyway, I got them years ago, and I only use them for fabrics. Not that I have that many fabrics, but that's the only thing I cut with it is thread and fabric. I learned from Grammy that there's certain scissors you use for fabric and other scissors you can use for paper and other things. So these are my quote-unquote good scissors. Not that like they're anything special. Yeah. And if that music is too loud, let me know. The last stream I did on Sunday and tonight, I'm using a new service. It's a new service to me. It's called, I think it's called Stream Beats. Yeah, Stream Beats. It's Twitch safe music. Okay, why isn't this opening? Oh, there's a double seam in here. There's a double hem. Alrighty, maybe that's why I'm having some issues. Duh. Yeah, a seam ripper would work really good, but me struggling here, this is actually more content for my stream, so it's all good. I only went through the part, oh, I should have known this. It's a serged edge, so a serged hem, and it's got, there we go. I'm getting it. This may or may not be worth your time to do this. Once you get it started, sometimes you can just rip through it. There we go. We're going to rip through some of it, because the whole thing's going to get cut anyway. And don't worry about picking out all these little threads. When we form it into yarn, they're going to be all hidden into the yarn, and you're not going to notice them in your finished product or even your project that you make. And if you really want to go through and pick all that yarn, that thread out, then go right on ahead, but it's not worth it. Okay, I'm at a side seam right here. This is going to take a little bit of extra coaxing. Even though you could see half of my desk, I think I might end up keeping this top-down camera angle higher up for wider angles for this purpose here. I can always zoom in when I do more fine work, like when I'm teaching stitches. Okay. Got a little bit of a mess here because of that side seam. For the okay, I think we've got it now, maybe. Gotta really get in there with my thread snips. There we go. I'm gonna cut through a bunch of these. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. But yeah, this is a very good project for recycling. Reusing what you got, and it's pretty cool. I like the texture and the feel of a t-shirt, you know, that cozy feeling. So it kind of somewhat has that when you work it up. Not exact. And we're going to have another ad here in a second. And again, while we're at ad, I will be picking out these stitches, and I will be back. And welcome back, everybody. The whole time I've been picking out this hem, I'm almost done. And then we will get to the cutting part to make our actual yarn. And after we make the yarn, then we will probably stitch something up, real simple. You're probably not going to be doing a lot of elaborate, deep decorative stitches with a t-shirt yarn. Your best bet is to stick with some basic ones like single crochets, half doubles, that type of thing. But I've got a whole bunch of t-shirt yarn that I've made, and I need to do something with it. I'm still going with this. This is a really secure hem. It's not anywhere near falling out. But yeah, if you don't want to have to worry about all of this, you can always cut that hem right off and not worry about that little bit of extra that you're going to get from it. I know it's thrilling to watch me do this. Oh, did I? I don't know if I went through. Oh, didn't know if I went through the first set of stitches there. No, I did. We're good. Now I got to the point. Now I can just rip it apart by hand. And I'm ripping the stitches, not the actual fabric. There we go. We're making some progress. I think this is the last little bit. Yep, I need a drink after all that. Alrighty. So now we've got our hem all picked out. Match up your side seam. Helps if you shake it out. Get everything kind of flat and even. What we're going to end up doing, that hem we just picked out, try to match up both layers together as best as you can to get it somewhat flat and even. Letting it hang off the front of my desk, and that's going to help let the gravity help a bit with evening it out. My cut line wasn't perfectly straight, but that's all right. So what we're going to end up doing, and you can't see it, it's off camera here, but we're going to take this and we're going to fold it on itself on the other edge. Okay. So we've got a side seam here. This isn't going to lay perfectly flat. I think this t-shirt had been stretched out a bit and things aren't the way it was originally when it was brand new. But we're getting it. We're getting it. All right. So you're going to take your side seam here. This is the one side. The other side is here closest to me. You're going to take the one side seam, fold it onto itself. So it's folded in half. This is the hem of the shirt. This is where the top was. And what we have here, you're going to have it about an inch or so, maybe a little more, doesn't have to be exact, from the other side seam. Okay? I'm going to take all this and flip it around. So where closest to me now is the center of the shirt, because it's almost folded in half. You got a side seam and a side seam. And this is a good time to make certain things are somewhat flat and even. Okay. So from the side that's here, and you got 4 layers here because t-shirt has got a front and back, but then it's doubled on top of each other. About 3/4 of an inch or so, roughly 1/2 inch, 3/4 an inch from the edge, you're going to start cutting. Try to cut as straight as possible. And when you get down here, you're going to go past the top layer, which is a little bit shorter than the bottom layer. You're going to go past that, cut through it actually. And then you're going to go a little bit further past, and you're going to leave about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch or so from that edge. So you've got this strand, and you're going to do that all the way across. So the same thing, the same distance, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Try to keep it as even and consistent as possible, your strips. So each strip is about the same. And you're going to work your way all the way across your shirt. Probably can't see them just on the edge. For being my fabric scissors, these aren't the best scissors, but they're working. Also, I'm not used to cutting fabric. You could use a rotary cutter, but you would want to stop, again, short. You want them all connected here at that end, that edge. that, and now bottom portion, just go through. Got a little narrow there, but that's okay. Easier to cut that part first, and then I can keep going. We're making progress. Take a little break and get something to drink. I know my cut lines aren't perfectly straight. They don't have to be straight. Try to flatten that out a little bit. That part of the shirt was easier to cut through, probably because it was thinner and worn. Little thin there, but that's all right. If I was doing this at an actual full table, I would probably have better luck with it being a little more even. We're going to make do with what we got. Okay. And we're getting to a point here. I'm not going to have a lot more to use. That's a little thick there, but I can always come back and cut it up the middle. That strip is a little too wide. Okay. I got this little bit here that is a little off. Again, if I would have cut it and was a little more even, I could have saved this. We'll use this part Saturday. So I'm just going to cut all of that off, and that will go with the rest of it. So now you've got basically this fringe. You've got all of this fringe here. They're all connected here at this one seam. There are loops. We're not going to cut those loops. We're going to go to this seam here. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up the shirt. Imagine if it wasn't cut. We're going to open up the tube because that's what a shirt is. So there we have that. Leave those loops down there at the bottom. And we're going to focus on all of this stuff here. I find it easy to drape it on my arm like this to hold it open. And what we're going to do is we're going to start here. We've got a slit here and a slit here, but we're about halfway in between, roughly. We're going to make a diagonal cut from the outer edge to that first cut. Okay? I can't repeat it because I've already cut it, but that was like that. We cut from here diagonally from the outer edge to the slit. And now what we're going to do is the first one here. We got a cut here, and we're going to cut diagonally from here to here. So we're joining up where we cut previously. We're joining here, and we're going to cut like that. When we do this, we're going to have one continuous strand, and if you visualize it, visualize somebody wearing it, or if it's on a mannequin, you're going to start at the bottom and spiral cut it all the way up to the top. And when you're done, you're going to have one strand. That's essentially what we've been doing with all of this. And again, like I said, it's easier if I have this on my arm and my hand because it opens it all up and shows me where I need to cut. And I'm getting near the end here. And then the fun part will happen. We are going to form it into yarn. I want cut. There we go. Okay, when we get to this, we've got one slit here, and we're going to cut diagonally from the slit to the outer edge. Okay. So now we got this mess, and so it doesn't get tangled, we're going to wrap it into a ball. But while we do that, we're going to form it into yarn. So you're going to take a length of it, and you're going to pull it. And since it's knit, it's going to stretch. And when it stretches, I don't know how well you can see it, it's going to roll onto itself. Because that's knit fabric has a tendency of doing that. So you're just going to pull it, put a strand between your hands and pull, and then do another one. When you get to a seam, you want to be a little careful that you don't pull too hard, because you could pop the stitches out that are, like, here's a seam here. So I'm not pulling, I'm holding the seam. And now there's the seam. I don't want to pop out those stitches from when the shirt was made, but it's going to curl on itself. So not only is this making it somewhat round, technically you're getting a little more length in it. This is a little thin area. I could have made that strand a little wider, but that's okay. And that's a jagged piece. When I cut the strip, it wasn't even, so I'm just going to trim that little bit off, just so it's not in my finished yarn. You can leave it in there. It's not going to make that much of a difference. So you're just going to sit here and work through your whole pile. And you can see how this is just wide strip. And this looks a little more rounded, like a yarn would be. Okay, I pulled too hard, and also the stitches came undone on the side seam. There are different ways of joining. I'm not going to really go into the joining ways of doing this. You could sew it together, which I'm definitely not going to do. I'm just going to do a weaver's knot, because that's what I've been doing a lot on when I join actual yarn. It's a little bit easier to do it with T-shirt yarn because it's thicker. We'll see if this is going to hold. If not, then come up with other ways of joining. There we go. And I'm just going to trim my tails. I need a little bit beefier scissors for that. So there is a knot in it, but when you work with this, you're probably most likely not going to see it when you crochet it up. Just like if it was regular yarn. Hey there, Citric for Blue. Regular thread stitching works best. Yeah. I'm just not going to sit here and get out needle and thread and join little bits for something that's just basically recycling, and it's going to end up in a bag, in a tote bag, or a basket, or a rug, or whatever it's going to be. I'm just going through and just pulling on it. And that cut edge, those cut edges, when I do this, a lot of them, not all of it, but a lot of it is going to be curled into itself, so it's not going to fray as much. It's just the nature of the knit fabric. Let's say you had the actual T-shirt, the material that they use to make T-shirts out of, that jersey knit. Well, if they didn't hem it, your edges, your hem, and your sleeves would end up curling, because it's just the natural tendency. Thank you for the follow, Marky Yass, but it's the natural structure of the stitches of the knit fabric and has a tendency to curl. For those of you who were around months ago when I was doing Tunisian crochet, sort of the similar type thing. Tunisian crochet has a tendency to curl. Just like this type of fabric, the edges will have a tendency to curl. And believe it or not, we're having another ad break. Seems like they're coming up quicker. So it kind of looks like I'm making a big pile of gray spaghetti. I don't want gray spaghetti. Move. Like I said earlier, this is a little bit of a change for what I normally do here on the channel. But after we make this, and I still got a big pile. This is from a men's extra large shirt. So you can get a bit of yarn from that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to crochet something up real quick. I'm probably just going to do like a square. And I will be right back right after this ad break. And welcome back, everybody. Still making my my yarn. My pile is getting smaller from what needs to be prepped. For those of you that are working on anything at the moment, what are you working on? Earlier today, I started a project. I wanted to make a pincushion using crochet cotton thread. Try to find a vintage pattern, and everything that I found, they were pretty much like a doily, but then they were attached over top of a fabric form, like a fabric little pillow, either satin or whatever type of fabric, and the crochet part was more of a decorative thing that went over top, and I didn't want that, so I came up with my own. I did find this one to make it look like a hat, but I didn't like the pattern. The pattern was very difficult to read. It was a vintage pattern, and it was confusing. So I'm just making a it's gonna be a round. It's gonna be about that big or so. I did rounds and rounds and rounds to however long, and then I just kept going. It didn't increase for however long, and then I'm going to make a bottom part. It's about the same size. I'm going to stitch most of it up, and then I'm going to stuff it with some fluff really tight to make a little pincushion. Because as it is, sad green is my pincushion, and I don't want sad green to be my pincushion anymore. I want sad green just to sit there and be sad green. Okay. Oh. Whole time my camera angle was all a little off kilter. So we formed it into T-shirt yarn. And it just feels really cool just to scrunch it up. But so it's not going to be a tangled mess. I'm just going to form it into a simple hand wound ball. It's the same way that I form hand wound balls for actual traditional yarn, I guess you would call it. And as I'm doing this, I'm pulling a little bit, so that's going to add a little more stretch and form it more into a yarn. And that's how you make T-shirt yarn. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. And like I said, on Saturday, I will show how to make more T-shirt yarn from the top portion of the T-shirt. So from the armpits up, there is still usable yarn in this. But that is for Saturday. There'll be very little waste from this. Other good uses for old T-shirts are cleaning rags. If they're 100% cotton and they don't have any lettering or pictures or any artwork, if it's just a simple 100% cotton, with, like I said, with no decals or whatever, that would be a really good rag. I don't even know if people do this anymore. To wash your car. I don't know if people wash their car anymore. I mean, they probably just take them to the car wash. Another good use, if you have a really favorite shirt that is past its life as a wearable, and you don't want to cut it up because for whatever reason, it might have meaning to you or whatever, you can turn it into a pillow. You can also take the front portion of the T-shirt and cut it and square it up and stitch a bunch of them together to make a quilt. There's all different uses. So we've got our ball of yarn. So about an hour ago, this was a full T-shirt, and now we've got a ball of yarn. Since this is a little bit of a thicker yarn, and Actually, looking at it, it looks like a size 4. Oh, excuse me. It's probably more of a 5, a thicker yarn, but I'm going to end up using my largest crochet hook. This is an 11.5 millimeter, which is a P hook. Now, I don't like, and we've had this, I think we've had this discussion back a few months ago when I did like a yarn 101 or crochet 101. Real quick, the one on the right, that's a boy style hook. And the pink one is a Bates or an inline. I don't like Bates inline hooks, but it's what I got. And usually the larger hooks, you're not going to find them in metal because they're going to be heavy. You can find them, but you're going to usually find them in other materials. And this is a plastic. Okay, I forgot how to make a slip knot. No, I had it right. Okay. So I'm just going to do a simple square. Another good use for this is if you have a small amount of it, you can make, and again, if it's 100% cotton, I wouldn't use any other blends, but if it was 100% cotton, use it as a hot pad. So I'm just going to crochet, just do a simple chain. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm going to do 21, so I'm going to end up having 20 single crochets. Hey there, Fairy Dust. I'm pretty good. Also prefer tapered or hybrid instead of inline. Yep. Now, I'm okay when it comes to these larger ones using inline, but if I got a set here, not those. Got a set, a multi-pack of Susan Bates inline hook, and they're more standard sizes, smaller sizes. My yarn, regardless of the yarn, it always snags. But there are Susan Bates people, and then there's more tapered or boy people, and I'm more of a tapered. And I shouldn't say Susan Bates. Susan Bates is inline, meaning the hook part, and it's not showing up because it's clear, but the hook part is in line with the whole hook instead of the tip of the hook is further out. But that's just a personal preference. I'm already loving. I splurged with my tax returns and got a set of Clover Amour. Someone would have to pry those babies from my cold dead hands. I've never used Clover Amour. The set that I have, they're mostly put away, but this is one of them. And each handle's a different color. There's some cheap set off of Amazon. I love them. They're great. I never have an issue with any of them. But I've heard a lot of good things for the Clover Amour. I think these are supposed to be like an Amour knockoff or close to them. If I'm certain what the Amour ones are. I know this is a knockoff of one of them. Yeah, and I could be wrong. They could be some other ones. Okay, trying to find my stitch here. Again, I chain very tight. Yeah, and as you all know, we all know here that me and Clean Miko, we're both tight hookers, so, and we're proud of that. I don't know what I'm making, but whatever it is, I love it already. I just love the feel of it. It does make a chunkier type fabric, and all I'm doing is single crochets. I'm not going to do anything um, fancy with a t-shirt yarn. I mean, I guess you could if you had enough of it. Personally, I would stick to just your basic stitches. What would be really good, and this might be almost the good size, maybe if I did a little smaller and I made a square for it, this would be a good mug rug for a coffee mug. Gotta have to make it a little bit smaller. And the beauty is, this costs $0. Free. Use what you have on hand. It's what our ancestors did. They used whatever they had. Goes back to like quilting. You didn't go out and buy brand new fabric if you needed a blanket. You used old shirts and old feed bags and old sheets and whatever you had. This would make a really good bath rug for outside of your bathtub. Going into the, oh, that's fine. It stretches a bit. I don't know if you've noticed, I am crocheting much slower than I normally do. A, it's the yarn, and B, it's this plastic hook. I hate plastic hooks. Think of all of the materials of hooks that I've tried, plastic is my least favorite. Like of an aluminum or a steel. Wood and bamboo are okay, depending on the type of yarn. Plastic, God, I hate it. Like I said, you can also, I got an example here. I did a sample a while ago. I had some of this green t-shirt yarn, and it's cut short, but what I ended up doing is I used it in my rigid heddle loom. I ended up taking it all apart, but you can make a woven rag rug with them also. So it's not just crochet. That was just one strand that I used. So definitely don't throw out your old T-shirts unless they are completely full of holes and falling apart. Reuse them. My hands are a little tired from working on that. I'll show you what I'm making. And it might seem a little obscene. Not really obscene, but a little questionable. I made this today. This is going to be my pincushion. Yes, it's baby pink. It kind of looks like something, but we're not going to talk about that. But this will be the top of my pincushion, and I'm currently working on the bottom part. It's just going to be a flat circle, and I'll end up stitching them together around, and then before I close it up, I'll stuff it with some stuffing of some sort. But working these small little stitches, we all know what the little stitches look like. My hands have been cramping up. And it feels weird going from earlier today working on the really tiny threads to something that's jumbo. No, not jumbo. More of a bulky yarn, like this T-shirt yarn. Hey there, Anna. How are you? I earlier in the stream, you'll have to watch the playback at some point. I was showing how to make yarn from a T-shirt, and that's what I'm crocheting with. I'm crocheting with T-shirt yarn. That a little over an hour ago was a gray T-shirt, and now it's becoming something else. It's real easy to do. The humidity is high. My yarn hand will hurt when I crochet because the yarn sticks to me. Yeah, I'm feeling it here in this part of my palm, right below my thumb, and also in the joints in my fingers. I mean, that is also age. But also, even if I'm not, I think there is something to say about the humidity affecting joints, because I noticed that when it started getting humid here a couple weeks, about a month or so ago, all of my joints have been a little more achy. Wow. This sounds like something that hijacker the other month, Granny Karen, would say. We'll talk about her achy joints. But yeah, I know how that is with humidity getting in there. So it's made this really, I mean, again, it's just single crochet, but it makes this really nice firm fabric, and it's got stretch to it because it's knit. The stitches are crochet, but the medium is a knit yarn. Got a yarn burn on my finger the other day. Ouch. I think I occasionally would get those when I first was learning how to crochet, because my tension was super, super tight, tighter than what it normally is now. But that's not fun. Yeah, it was really tight in some of my hand that day. Felt drier. Yeah. It's probably disrupted some of the moisture in your hand or whatever in that area. So to recap what we did, we made yarn from the body of the t-shirt, so from the sleeves downward, so the torso part. And on Saturday's stream, we're going to make yarn from the rest of the t-shirt, so from the top portion and the sleeves. The only thing we're really not going to use is pretty much the collar, and there might be a little tiny little scraps here and there. So you can get maximum use out of the entire shirt. But that's for Saturday. Decided to break it up into 2 days. Also, everybody tune in on Thursday, this coming Thursday, at 8 p.m. Eastern US time. Will be our first Throwback Thursday stream. And for our first Throwback Thursday is a mystery pattern. All I know, it is a edging pattern for handkerchiefs or tablecloths or linens or pillowcases or what have you. And Grammy will pick the pattern. Actually, I told her to pick 2 patterns. So I have no idea what they are. And like I said, when I find out, you guys will find out. I will be doing them in worsted weight yarn so everybody can see the stitches and what I'm doing. And y'all can watch me struggle to read and decipher a pattern that was written how many years ago? Almost 80 years ago? But like I said, I will be using worsted weight yarn for those patterns. If there's time still on stream after I do them, I will work them in crochet thread. If not, if I don't have time on Thursday's stream, then off stream I will work them up in crochet thread, and then on Saturday, I'll show them on Saturday. I also will post them in the Discord. So Thursday, your name will be Karina for that stream. Karina from Just Vintage Crochet. Kind of got the idea from her. It's not exactly. I mean, I know what book it's from, and I know it's an edging. So it's not. I'm not going in it totally blind. And again, I didn't want to steal her format exactly, but I wanted some type of surprise for myself. And I think the book has got like 100 different edge stitches. So my plan is every other Thursday to do a mystery edging stitch, or at least 2 of them. So that's going to last us a while to get through that book. We don't have to do every pattern in that book. But we can go through a lot of them. Again, it's whatever Grammy decides that we're going to do. And that I posted it in the Discord the other day. The doily, the large doily that I made. In fact, let me pull it up now. and capture the right monitor to share my screen. I will do that when we come back from an ad. We will be back in a minute or two. The doily is hot as fuck, by the way. Okay. I will be right back. And welcome back, everybody. So, while we were on ad break, I kept on stitching and stitching and stitching, so I've made my little piece here. So, before we went to ad, we were talking about the doily that I made. And I gotta make my screen a little bigger so I can access this. That is the doily that I made. It is, again, it's a pattern from the 1850s. It's an English pattern, so the language was not, you had to decipher it, but it gave an explanation in the book. It's actually a whole PDF of like knitting and crocheting patterns, a lot of them. It gave an explanation of what their stitches meant, so it was easy to figure it out. But I think the title of it was called "A Very Pretty Doily for a Salver," which is a tray. It's being blocked right now. It's about 22 inches in diameter, so it's a pretty big piece, and it will go on the end table in our living room when it's done. I'm probably going to starch it also. So that, whoops, everything was moving around. So that is the doily that I did. But currently it's pinned up. It's on a, I didn't have a, oh, I'm almost to the end of my ball of yarn that I made today. I don't have blocking boards specifically. Most of the small things, it's a piece of upholstery foam, but this is bigger than that. So I have it pinned to a, it's a bulletin board that's covered in like a fleece type fabric. So, it's behind me right now, resting and doing its thing. Again, is it difficult to weave in the ends when using crochet thread? Actually, no. I don't find it any more difficult than weaving in ends with any other type of yarn. I would use a smaller needle, so the eye of the needle and the thickness of the needle doesn't like enlarge the stitches. But I don't see that there's any difficulty in it. I haven't weaved in the ends on that yet, which I will do that after it's done blocking. Okay, whatever this was, I don't know what it is. I lost yarn chicken because I've got like 4 more stitches that I lost, but that's all right. But it's a little square rectangular piece. I don't know what this is. As we were on break, I was thinking that if you had enough of, and you can use different colors, join them. I can add this green or whatever. If you made it big enough, that would be really good. I don't know how it would feel, but it might be a good yoga mat. Not that I do yoga, but that's T-shirt yarn. So that's most of a T-shirt. So let me move my little pin cushion thing away, and complete opposite, thicker yarn away. And I think we are going to probably wrap it up here tonight. And let's see here. So, everybody, I have a Discord, if you're not familiar with it. I have a Discord where you can join and post projects you're working on, see what everyone else is working on. There's a bunch of YouTube links and to other crafters. What else do I have in there? We've got some memes that we haven't done the meme of the stream in a while. I might have to bring that back. I've got some memes picked out of my own. Crojo Mojo used to always supply the memes, but she hasn't been in a while. I also have a YouTube channel. All of my streams, as soon as I'm done streaming, get uploaded directly to the YouTube channel, uncut, unedited. The way you see it here is the way you see it on the YouTube. Thank you all for tuning in tonight and learning how to make T-shirt yarn. Again, Thursday I'll be on for the Throwback Thursday of the Vintage Mystery patterns. And then Saturday is more T-shirt yarn. We're going to do the top half of the shirt. And, also coming up on Sunday the 16th, this Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Starting, like I said, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Duh, I just said that. Will be my marathon stream. Tentatively, hopefully, I don't have to postpone it again because I had to postpone it back in May. We'll be making a blanket, starting and hopefully finishing that day. A crocheted blanket that is going to be donated to Project Linus. For those of you who don't know what Project Linus is an organization that accepts new handmade blankets, quilts, either quilted, crocheted, knitted. I think there's a couple other different types of blankets they accept for children of all ages. Well, children ages 0 to 18 that are in need. Either they're traumatized, they're ill, all different needs. And there are chapters all across the country and in Canada. I don't know if they're in other countries. It's a pretty good organization. So I will be working on that. And then possibly sometime next week, I know Grammy's got a bunch of blankets she's made. We're going to go and make a donation drop off after that is done. So tune in for that. And again, that's an all-day event. I will be taking multiple breaks. There might be times that we're just going to sit and chit-chat for a bit, give my hands a rest, and then we'll come back to it. And hopefully, since I'll be streaming earlier in the day, maybe I'll get more followers and new people exposed to what I do here on the channel. So, with that all being said, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. And we're going to go raid. We're going to raid Mr. Drew. He is working on a catacorn. I don't know what a catacorn is. So stick around. Hang out with Drew. He's pretty cool. He's pretty funny. And I will chat with you all on Thursday. And as I say, happy crafting. And give me a few seconds so we can go do this raid.